Welcome to Legendary Exits, conversations with purpose-driven entrepreneurs. In this series, we sit down with the leaders and legends who turned their exits into opportunities for impact. We explore living lives of significance, leveraging exits to fund personal and financial goals, and building a best-in-class business along the way. You ready? Let's dive in.
I'm Micah Brandenburg, host of Legendary Exits, and I am here today with Tommy Breedlove, best-selling author of the book Legendary, leader of the Legendary movement, and Tommy's journey is anything but ordinary. I'm really looking forward to talking to him today. Tommy, thanks for joining me.
Micah, we've had an unbelievable off-camera, off-microphone conversation thus far.
We have.
I can't wait to talk all things Legendary. The fact that your company is named Legendary Exits. I've written a book called Legendary that's aspirational. I hope to be known as that one day. Hope to be. I'm not there yet, but this is going to be fun. I'm just super humble and excited to be here, my friend.
Yeah, awesome. Same here. I am looking forward to the conversation. I know you get a background, career in financial consulting. I know you do some coaching now, keynote speaking. You're, founder of this Legendary movement with the book that you've written. You're working with entrepreneurs. What do you want people to know about you at the outset, just as we get oriented before we dive into the total conversation? Tell us about you, whatever you want us to know about your life, particularly as you think about entrepreneurs and business owners listening to this.
Yeah, I grew up in public accounting, financial consulting, M&A, et cetera. So I did that for 20 plus years and was on the pursuit of, come from very humble beginnings and had a troubled childhood that ended me up in jail at 18 years old. I thought I was going to be the first person in my family to go to college and graduate from college. I took a detour into jail for a few years from very poor choices and running with the wrong people, and I was 100% accountable to those choices. But luckily, after that, did end up in a nuclear waste container factory, then community college at night, then to the University of Georgia, go Dogs.
Okay.
Graduated with honors there and went to work for Deloitte. And so that's where I began my career. Fast forward 15 years, I thought success, and when I say success, title, status, and money, which I think all of those things are important, by the way. I do. I am into money as important business. Otherwise, I wouldn't have much of a career with entrepreneurs and executives. However, I thought that was the end-all be-all, and when I got it and didn't deal with any of those things from youth, my mindset, feeling not good enough, my anger, my fears, it almost cost me everything again at 36. I almost lost my career, my firm, my life, my wife, and literally everything. And at that moment, I said, enough. And I never planned on leaving that world. I said, enough is enough. And I'm going to figure out who Tommy is. I'm going to figure out what I stand for. I'm going to honor my core values. And honestly, I'm not going to let people who don't matter matter. And at that point, I really invested into my heart, mind, soul, and body, and found professional development, found personal development, found coaches and mentors and mastermind groups. And it just set me on this journey, man. And when I started telling people my real story, they said, hey, you need to write a book and how you went from here to here and did the tactical tools that you did. And then we wrote Legendary again, which is aspirational. It's not that we think we're legendary. It's that we hope to leave a legacy where people said, hey, those people live legendary lives. And so with that being said, with all these people pushing me, we wrote Legendary. It became a Wall Street Journal and USA Today bestseller. We're no longer actually in the coaching business. We're actually in the community and experience business. So we have built this community of entrepreneurs and executives who do these experiences, who do these masterminds together to hopefully not just be elite in what we do, but just as important, be elite in who we are. And so that's the birthplace of Legendary, brother.
I love it. And I want to dig into that in particular. And I was looking forward to this conversation again, not just because you got a book Legendary and I got a business called Legendary Exits, but
it's like
when
divine.
When I think about a legendary exit and we think about the work our team does, we think, okay, an exit that your grandkids are going to talk about is way more than the numbers. It's not less than the numbers, but it's way more than it. Yeah. And it really starts with living a life with significance. And I think that segues really nicely into the subtitle of your book, which is Building and Living a Legendary Life. And so I think where I want to start the conversation is just to say, whether you call it the good life, whether you call it a life of significance, whether you call it a legendary life, what does that mean to you? Do you have some way of sort of thinking about that or a framework to sort of distill that?
I think it first starts with doing what you want, with who you want, when you want it, how often you want to do it, And you've got to be, to me, it's got to be of service and value to others. And it could be a lot of different things. I think purpose is a word that a lot of us struggle with and that we all use. But to me, it's living a life of purpose. And for me, what does that mean? That means using your God-given talents and the things that you're extraordinary at doing and helping this earth or fellow human beings, organization or community to be better than you found it. So it starts there. Then it goes into, again, time. Freedom of money, freedom of time. To me, time is the most valuable asset.
Yes.
I think we as individuals are taught opposite of this. I think we've taught that when we prioritize us, it's selfish. It's actually selfless. And to me, we are our number one assets. If I was going to subcategory that, it'd be our time, energy, and attention. They're the most intimate things, the most important things we have. Are you in charge of your time? Are you in control of your energy? Because you can't outperform how you feel. And are you giving your attention to things that really matter? So to me, it's the purpose. It's prioritizing the number one asset. It's having your time, your energy. It's providing values to others. And God willing, we've said it before, is leaving this planet, our fellow humans, better than we found them. It's leading with love. It's living with love. Hopefully, God willing, loving yourself along the way. And that was my problem. But also, at the end of the day, are you going to have a heart full of gratitude and no regrets? And as someone who's made a lot of mistakes in his life, I use those now as a foundation. I see those with gratitude. I see those of why did they happen for me and not to me, and taking my adversities and making them my advantage. And I think so many of us pretend to be something we're not. We put our Instagram fabulous, our LinkedIn successful out there, and really inside we're all struggling. And I run communities for business leaders, and we all got our demons. We've all got our insecurities. We all got our fears. We all feel alone. We're all pushing towards something great. And I think the moment we get authentic, the moment we lean into that, we start building and living legendary lives. And start getting our blind spots and our unknown potential, become self-aware, and then we go out there and be world-class and kick ass, man. That's what I think.
I love it. The pieces that I resonate with, particularly in your responses, you talk about, you said like doing what you want with who you want when you want. And to me, that's sort of, I shared with you previously when we talked, I have 3 personal values. And the first one is freedom. And the way I define freedom is the autonomy and the responsibility to wake up each day and do what I've been uniquely created to do. And it kind of sounds like you've got a similar thought. And one of my other personal values is connection, right? Life isn't just about money. It's about deep connection and relational connection. So you talk about doing things in the service of others. I really love that. What do you think keeps people from being authentic? Because it sounds like you're really holding up authenticity as sort of a very desirable thing and something that a lot of people struggle with.
It's fear. 100% fear. And really, I'm going to use words that are overused. It's a scarcity mindset. When I think of scarcity mindset, that's letting fear win, and you're worried about being judged. And really right now, the world is craving you to just be you, because social media feels inauthentic. Politics and large religion on some level feel inauthentic. Definitely, I mean, you're just here feeling it everywhere, and people are just craving just be you and quit wearing the masks, quit name dropping, quit doing all the things and tell us how important you are. Show us how important you are. Show me who you really are. And it's fear. And it's so interesting. Real quickly, I had to go back because you said your number 2 thing is connection. If here is the purpose of Legendary, it's to challenge business leaders to constantly grow. It's to connect them together to do business and life with, and it's to conquer. So it's challenge, connect, conquer. And when we say conquer, we want you to reach all your goals. We want you to leave a lasting legacy. We want you to make impact. But it's fear, man. And I think so many of us get caught up in what other people think, and they're not thinking about it anyway because they got their own BS. They got their own nonsense. And so it's fear. It's the fear of being judged. It's the fear of not being enough. We've been told to fake it until you make it. And once you get seasoned enough and you get in this world enough, I know I have a high BS meter. And I trust, but I verify first. And so when you're out there big talking and you're out there name dropping and you're out there pretending to be something you're not, it just rubs people the wrong way, man. I mean, go on LinkedIn right now and see I. Nobody cares about you, man. They care about themselves. And so I think it's really, there's a difference between being authentic and emotionally vomiting. If you want to know what emotionally vomiting look like, look at Facebook, right? But there's a being you, there's being who you are, there's knowing your blind spots, there's knowing your weaknesses, but also finding your unique strengths, finding your unmet potential. And I think right now people are craving authenticity more than ever, but what holds
Yes.
people back from anything is the fear of being judged, which is a scarcity mindset. It's just fear. That's it.
So fear is sort of the enemy that keeps us from living an authentic life. I guess
Yeah.
the follow-up question would be, I don't want to minimize that, right? Because these are like real legitimate fears that people have. Like there's
Yeah.
this video.
I have them
we
still.
could sort of, I have fears, right?
We all do.
What do you think is the key in your work with entrepreneurs? Like how do you help entrepreneurs and business owners to operate not from a place of fear, but from some other place? How does that work? Break that down.
Do you know what the difference between courage and confidence is?
Courage and confidence. No. Explain it.
Confidence is fun. Courage is not. And so you and I just said we are eat up in fears. We have between the two companies somewhere between 17 and 20 employees, which makes us small companies.
Yes.
But those 17 to 20 lives that we employ, we have, that comes out of our pockets. There's no stockholders, there's no investors, it's us. And so we take that seriously. Our communities in the business leader space affects, and I don't say this lightly, millions of lives. Because not only when we're on stage, but where we're running our masterminds or experiences, these are people who own companies from startups all the way to billion-dollar companies and everything in between. So think of the lives that they're affecting. So every day I've got a level of fear. I've got a level of fraud. I've got a level of, can I do this? I've got a level of waking up at night, sweating, and, because we're constantly innovating and pushing. We're constantly double downing, investing back in these companies ourselves. So I'm eat up with fear as well. But when the answer to your question is you help people find clarity. So one of the things we do at Legendary, and this is what we do at the very initial stages when they take their Legendary journey, is we take them from ignorance to awareness to transformation. And the number one failure in leadership right now is self-awareness. It's really knowing thyself.
Boom.
Number one failure.
I'll tell you, I have debated this actually with a lot of people. What is the key foundational leadership quality? And I agree with you. It is self-awareness. My former VP of people at the last company, she and I both agree on this topic. I love it. Keep going.
So we take them from searching for their blind spots, really naming their fears and insecurities, helping them find tactical tools to go from ignorance to awareness. And here's the problem with when you become aware is if you don't do anything about it, it becomes a shame monster that holds you down, or then it can actually become the catalyst that helps you become the phoenix and rise. So we get taken from ignorance to awareness to transformation. We give them tactical tools on clarity, tactical tools on self-confidence, tactical tools on courage, tactical tools on letting go of the fears, the insecurities, to forgive. And so we really get tactical into clarity and connection. And then once they've gone through that process, and it's very tactical, it's not woo-woo, hippy-dippy, go out there and wear loincloths and walk on fire nonsense. What we do after that is we take them into mastery, right? Internal mastery and external mastery. Lead yourself and lead others. And then we take them into leadership, which is then teaching others. So it goes ignorance, awareness, transformation, mastery, both internal mastery and external mastery, not only in what you do, but who you are. And then we take them into leadership, which is teaching others how to do it. And so that's the Legendary process, but it's tactical. But it starts with clarity, confidence, and courage. And you can do that tactically. It's just doing reps, right? It's building the muscles.
Yeah, I love it. And what was really interesting that stood out to me in your breakdown of ignorance, awareness, transformation, and then what was the last one?
Mastery leadership.
Mastery leadership. Okay. Well, what really stood out to me was when you talked about the fact that when you create awareness that people have a bifurcating choice of two things that happen, right? You say they either get overcome by shame, I think you said, or becomes a catalyst for transformation.
Yep.
That's really interesting because that seems to be the crisis moment in this whole thing. Is that how you see it?
I totally see it that way. And what we want is people to prioritize their personal growth, their leadership growth, their skill sets. But again, not just in what they do, the mastery in their crafts and in their leadership and their businesses, but the craftsmanship in who they are and what they stand for. And so for me, it is a crisis point. It is a point of usually people don't change unless it becomes overwhelming. And I wish it wasn't that case, unless it was some sort of they lose their business, they have an integrity breach, their wife leaves them. And I don't want it to be that way.
Yes.
I want these entrepreneurs and business leaders to begin when things are good. That's when you build the roof, man. You don't build the roof when it's pouring rain.
Yes.
And so when you work on your clarity, when you work on your courage, when you work on your confidence, you work on your business, you work on your leadership, because it's all life is seasons, and so is business. You know this, Micah. There's a fall, a spring, a summer, and a winter. Man, when it's winter, it's hard to build a house because you're freezing to death, right? Same goes in business, same goes in life. And so what we're wanting the world to do is get out there and build the house, build the fortress, protect and defend you, your number one asset, get it as strong as possible, internally, externally, and in what you do and who you are, so that when winter comes, and it will come, it will come. We're all going to end up worm food, man. We're all 100% going to end up worm food, period.
Yeah.
And I want them to build the house before it's burning. And I get these calls all the time, man. I'm like, hey, why didn't you call me before X, Y, Z? And not now, man, because now we're in repair mode. Now we're in crisis mode.
And what's the answer? What do people say to you?
Well, I didn't know, or I thought things were good. And they're never, it's always spring, winter, fall. So it's about being the captain of your ship, you know what I'm saying, and not a rudderless ship out there. It's being the puppeteer and not the puppet.
2 follow-ups and see if there's something here for us to go to. I want to talk about, you talked about fears. And fears being the opposite of authenticity. And we talked about, you know, going from ignorance to awareness and then this bifurcating, hey, I either live in shame or I transform. First question is, are there kind of a common set of fears that you just see over and over? A fear about this, and this? Is there sort of like a matrix or a grid, if you will, of the common fears that people have?
I think people are very scared of just being themselves. And there's some real evolution to that, by the way. And so if you weren't accepted by the tribe less than 200 years ago, you're dead. I mean, you were dead. And so we all want to fit in. We all want to be liked. We all want to be, and in our world, you and I world, we're dealing with alpha females and males. We're dealing with business leaders who make big decisions. We're dealing with people who are movers and shakers and making a difference out in the world. And there's big consequences to getting it wrong. And so I think we're worried about making mistakes. I think we're afraid of being alone. I think we honestly, all of us believe whatever insecurities or things in our head that we think we're the only ones who have it. And that's not true. If you have it, millions of others do. Yeah. And so we all have our idiosyncrasies. We all have our blind spots. But I think the common fears are fears of not being enough, fears of being seen for who they really are, fears of, imagine this fear, saying, I don't know, because so many of us are paid for our brains. But it's one of the biggest, it's one of the best things people will relate to, I don't know, a whole lot more than you just making it up. And so I think it's a fear of being judged. I think it's a fear of not being accepted. I think it's a fear of not being successful. And I think it's a fear of the unknown. I think people like consistency, and people like the devil that they know, and the devil that they know is them in their current life. And I think any change is scary, but it doesn't matter. And now think about AI. If you don't get with that program, you are going to be dead ASAP. And so I think people are scared of change, but nothing good comes without change.
Yes.
And there's no magic pill. There's no white horse. There's nobody coming to save you, and you got to save yourself. And I don't care what anyone says. You got to come save yourself. And I think any change is scary, and I think people would rather wallow in the pain that they know than the pain of any uncertainty. I think it's hard to break.
I want to riff on this idea of change. I want to come back again to, you talked about ignorance, awareness, and transformation. So people are pivoting in that awareness moment, either to going back or to transforming. I think we've all had these seasons. New Year's resolutions come to mind where we intend something and then we don't live it out. So I'm curious, in your work with business leaders, entrepreneurs, one, what are the threads when somebody, you talked about being overcome by shame or transforming, are there patterns that you see? And then from your point of view, where does lasting and enduring change come from? Like, how does somebody achieve that? If our life is always going to be about change, like, how do we accomplish lasting and enduring change?
Habits and process is really the answers to how to the change. It's just habits and process. It's building the foundation, building a strong foundation of a proper habits, of your habits and your processes based on who you want to be, how you want to live, what your mission is, what your purpose is, and what your vision is. So first of all, you got to find what success looks like to you, right? And then you reverse engineer that success. And I would talk about success personally and professionally. What does success look like to you? And we've talked about freedom, right? To me, that is success, is freedom. But you come up with what your ideal vision, mission, purpose, and success looks like. And if you don't know, there's hundreds of us out there who can help you get there through our program. So I'm not putting a shameless plug there, but it's not just me. If you don't like the flavor of Tommy Breedlove, if I'm chocolate and you like vanilla, go find vanilla, man. They'll help you how to do it. But first of all, you got to know what your success is. Reverse engineer back what that looks like and what are the daily habits, the daily processes, the daily guardrails that you build into your life. And I believe it was, and then probably a lot of people said this, but I think the first person I heard say this was Jocko Willing. As people see discipline and habits as a cage, they're actually the biggest freedom of all. And so your discipline, your habits, your processes, and how you show up at every day and making things non-negotiable, that is what builds the freedom. So to me, that's how you design it. The consistencies, going back to your original question, the consistencies that I see across business leaders is compromising the things that matter most in the name of success, or when I get here, or when I have this, or when I have more of this, I will be happy. And that's the biggest lie we tell ourselves. Because if you're not happy now, and I give you, all right, what's a good number? $100 million, $1 billion. If I give you those numbers, you're going to be happy. You're going to be unhappy with that, period. Because wherever you go, there you are. And to me, there's systems and processes and habits for happiness, systems and processes for habits for health, systems, processes, and habits for success. And it's literally building those systems. I mean, I grew up an auditor and then moved into the M&A world. All of it was systems and processes, man. And if you look, every single person that you look at that you aspire to be, athlete, entertainer, business leader, whoever, entrepreneur, they're all disciplined. They all build the foundation. They're all consistent. They don't quit. They show up, and they show up when they don't want to. And that's what makes elite people elite.
I love that. Two thoughts in response. I'm sure you've heard of the statement by James Clear that says we don't rise to the level of our goals, we fall to the level of our systems. And I think your advice is right in line with that.
World-class book too, by the way, Atomic Habits. World-class.
Oh, I love Atomic Habits. So now I'll share with you, I'm going to segue in my third personal value that I haven't shared, and that is transformation. So what is transformation about? I started to realize through my own personal crisis of life 6-7 years ago, I started to redefine the old version of success for a new version of success, because the old version of success for me was accumulating wealth and being really great at stuff so that other people could look at me and say, you're really great.
Status.
And that's what led to a crisis in my life 7 years ago, and it caused me to really radically change the way I was thinking and living. But coming back to this personal value of transformation, I don't think destinations are fulfilling. I used to work with the founder, Jeff Lerner, great guy in a lot of ways. And Jeff gave a really cool talk that I think about to this day called about the compound interest of our daily habits. Woo. And so
my mentor, Darren Hardy, wrote a book called The Compounding Effect.
Well, maybe he read Darren Hardy's book, but
that's,
for me,
hey, Darren's my mentor. So, hey, we're on the same page, brother.
For me, it's the idea of just saying, how do I wake up? You talked about, you're going to be unhappy with 100 million if you're unhappy now. How do I architect my life in such a way, if I have that privilege, to be able to wake up each day and to just be delighted with the average day, the Monday, the Tuesday, the Wednesday, the Thursday, the Friday, not the weekends, right? Not the big trips to Italy or wherever else, but the average day. Because really, at least the way I think about it, the way that we know who we're going to be in the future, it's sort of the compound interest of all those habits of the average days. Yeah.
Great. I would say to that too. And if you're looking forward to the weekends, you are A, not living with a purpose, and B, not in a career, a job, or a path that really you need to be in, because it's not lighting you up. You're not passionate about it. I would encourage people, if you're not as fired up for Monday as you are Saturday, then something's off. And so that's a destination. And to me, you said it, is making the ordinary extraordinary and finding the beauty in the mundane. However, there's stuff about, what we do looks sexy when we're on stage or throwing a retreat or one of our business conferences, or we're running mastermind programs for our business leaders. It looks sexy. That's about 10% of what we do.
Yeah.
There's 90% of sales and marketing, administration,
Yeah.
finance, the cold calls, the begging people to go out on a date with you. Hey, I promise you, Legendary is not a cult. We're actually cool people doing cool things in cool places. There's all of the stuff behind the stuff, right? But I believe if you can get to where in your day-to-day life that 55 to 75% of the work that you do every day somehow lifts you up.
Yes.
And even when I get in the Tommy go round or my alter ego Ike kicks in, if I can make it back to our members, our future members, or even one person when I'm on a stage, if you can make it about service, all the other BS goes away, man.
I love it. I want to talk about people as a catalyst for change in our lives. You've talked about, I think as Americans, we all love a good redemption story. And if you're a marketer,
love the hero's journey.
and you understand the hero's journey or story narrative, you realize that every hero wants something and fails at some point and then has a redemption moment and however you want to phrase it, of overcoming and winning. But we only love that story, this is my belief, when we hear the full story.
Correct.
We don't really like it when somebody's in the middle of it. When they're having the fears and the doubt, we're in the middle of the failure and all of that. But I think a lot of the work that you're doing, and certainly the work that we seek to do with our clients, is to help them through those moments, right? So I'm curious for you, you talked about early circumstance. You talked about, after you rose up through the ranks of consulting and had a reflection in your life. I want to go back to those moments, or maybe the moments in the lives of entrepreneurs that you've helped or been involved with. Who are the people that were the catalysts of change, and what was it that they did that was so powerful to help you in those moments? Or if you think about some of the entrepreneurs you work with, how do we become a vehicle of change for people who are in those moments?
All of my mentors did one thing and one thing. They gave me the gift of going second. So what does that mean? Is when they were authentic, and these are word use, and I know that when they were authentic and vulnerable, again, that is not emotionally vomiting. When they talked about their life experiences, their failures, their insecurities, their fears, I relate to that. When they started opening up and telling me their stories, tell me their failures, their tragedies, their triumphs. I was here, and then I did this and failed at this and made this mistake and had this integrity breach, and then I did this, and now I'm here. What they're doing is showing you they're real. Second thing they're doing is show you they're not perfect. They're flawsome. They're perfectly imperfect like the rest of it. They're flawed and awesome. And what they're doing is saying you're not alone. And they're giving you the gift of going second, where you can say, well, I feel alone. I'm not good at this. I'm failing here. I'm failing in my business. I'm failing as a leader. People are running out of my business. My marriage is in the crapper. My friends don't like me. I don't like who I am. I don't like what I see in the mirror right now. It gives you the gift of going second. And for me, the reason we love the hero's journey is because it's relatable. Nobody's perfect. There is no Superman, Superwoman. And that's how damning and painful that social media can be, is because people they're either emotionally vomiting or getting political, or they're putting, Instagram fabulous, man. Look at me, see me, see me, see me, see me, like my picture, And so I think great mentors, great leaders give people the gift of going second and help them saying, hey, I see you, I hear you, I've been there, and you're not alone.
Yeah, I love that. So it's basically having the courage. I know we're contrasting courage with something else earlier, but sort of having the courage to go first and blaze the trail to allow somebody else who might be in a difficult situation or hurting to sort of open up and say, yeah, that's kind of me too. I'm in a similar situation. So
it's amazing how quickly it can happen too. Is the most powerful event we run is a 5-day all-inclusive vacation. It's called the Legendary Retreat, and it's our clarity event. It's about clarity, connection, and transformation. And it's usually business leaders, pretty seasoned business leaders, entrepreneurs, executives. And it's amazing how quickly these people are game changers. They have their hair on fire, man. They are leaders. They are trailblazers. They're innovators. They're visionaries. But it's so interesting how so many of us are just alike. And by me opening up and telling them the real story, by us when we're teaching certain content on courage, self-confidence, leadership, forgiveness, purpose, mission, and I say, oh, by the way, in my mission statement right now, I read mine, and these are my non-negotiables. These are my core values. This is where I plant my flag. This is where I fight. And I'm only doing about 70% of them, and I own that publicly, and I'm the one teaching. They love it because I'm being honest. I was like, I am not doing this right now, and I need to do better. And I've written a book, Micah, that I will never live up to, but I'm getting better and better and better at it every day. And I think that's what people are craving. We're not craving gurus. We're not craving sage on the stage. And as someone who's worked with a lot of famous people, there is nothing more debilitating than being famous. Most of my business leaders want to be the richest, happiest people that no one knows about.
I love it. Segue just for a minute with me. I'm sure there's some folks that are thinking, a lot of our audience is both business owners who have successful businesses, 10 to 100 million in sales, people who advise them. And so this is obviously applicable to them. But one of the things that I oftentimes find sometimes when you hear somebody like you talk, and of course this isn't you because you get a great finance background and you've done consulting and you get some of the brand name things, is like, that's kind of woo-woo. And I guess my question is this: how do you encourage business leaders and owners and entrepreneurs to address the totality of the whole person in their team that shows up every day? Right? Because again, that can be kind of strange sounding to some folks. They're kind of like, no, we're here to do business. So is that something you talk about? Is it something that you encourage folks who come through and are part of your community to then sort of take that and live that out almost in their own businesses with their employees?
So to me, the most important component of your business, and this is true. And so I think your audience will resonate this. Business and scale is all about leverage. Leveraging humans, leveraging capital, and leveraging process, period. And all three, really: capital, process, and humans. And when great leaders, to me, are number one, confident. Not only confident in what they do, but confident in who they are. True self-esteem, true self-respect, not wanting to be the leader who hear me roars, want to be the leader that lifts up and delegates and elevates, right? That knows that hopefully you just met off camera Erica Moore. She is a 5 times better speaker than I will ever be, and that's why I hired her. I didn't hire with people who hire people that aren't as smart as them are awful leaders. So number one,
why would you do it?
Yeah, why? Right. All you're going to do is spend your time mentoring them and fire them anyway. That's ridiculous. Anyway, that's a whole nother discussion. But I think number one, leaders need to be confident. And the leaders who are confident in what they do, that's almost all people listen to this podcast, I guarantee you they're world-class at what they do. But are they world-class at who they are? Number one. Number two, optimism. People follow optimism. Number three, people follow authenticity. Number four, they follow consistency and vision, right? And so there's all these attributes that leaders have. But to me, it comes down to one thing. If you don't have people, you don't have a business. If you don't have process, you don't have a business. And if you can't leverage capital, and capital comes in a lot of different ways. That could be receivables, it could be payables, it could be cash, it could be your time, energy, attention, it could be investment capital. It really doesn't matter. And the great leaders who show up with optimism, they show up with consistency, they show up with vision, they show up with being who they are, who they truly are, and the leaders who ask for help and empower and delegate and elevate others, those are the people who build world-class organizations. Those are the people who have people who will fight through the walls. And you got to determine as a leader, do you have patriots on your team or do you have mercenaries? And mercenaries are there just for the money and just for their status. And we don't have time on this interview, but this is a hard place to work here at Legendary. And we vet the hell out of people to see if they're patriots or mercenaries. What you want is patriots. What you want is A players. And A players care about being with other A players. They care about the challenge you're going to bring to them. They care about the opportunity. They want to know if you care about them as to be successful as a human being, not only in what they do, but who they are. And the final thing they care about is money. And so you as a leader, if it's all about your ego, when your ego is in charge, your soul is dying, and so is your damn company. And so I'm getting passionate about this because I have to deal with it every single day. And so those world-class leaders who leverage humans, capital, and process and build world-class cultures, winner, chicken dinner, there's your key to a big Legendary exit.
I love it. That's a great knowledge bomb for us, man. It's been awesome. I've loved having this conversation with you. Just tell us in closing, how do people connect with you? What are you doing? How can they follow you? But you've talked about events, you've talked about retreats, different stuff like that. How can people find out more if they want to dive deeper and experience more of what you've talked about here?
So Micah, every month we do something called Legendary Live, and it is actually live. So I want everybody to hear and hold me accountable to this. Micah Brandenburg is going to be on that. So every Tuesday, first Tuesday of the month at 7 p.m. Eastern, where we're interviewing world-class leaders, thought leaders, entrepreneurs, executives, people like Micah, to hopefully give wisdom, to gain wisdom, and hopefully the key to any wisdom is application.
Absolutely.
You got to take intentional action. Like action without intention and intention without action is useless. So that's one way to connect with us. If you want to know more about what we do, who we are, if you're looking to hang out with business leaders who want to be world-class at what they do, hang out with people just like themselves, but also have a lot of fun and do cool things in cool places, but also learn and grow always, email me directly, Tommy@livelegendary.today. That's the easiest way to do it, Tommy@livelegendary.today, and we will respond to you, and we will find you where you need to go, and we will find you the tribe members and the programs that are best where you are in your business and life.
That's awesome.
Or you can have me read Legendary to you on Audible.
I love it. Man, great to be with you. I've loved reading the book. I've loved this conversation here. At the risk of sounding like an echo chamber, sometimes I've heard you talk, I'm like, that's exactly what I believe. And so I'm still looking
Birds of
forward
a
to
feather,
continuing
brother.
to get to know you. So, well, with that, we're going to wrap. Thanks for being with us. And thanks for the time, Tommy.
Micah, what an honor. I'm humbled to be here. And I hope everyone takes a little bit of action on today's, what you threw out there and what I threw out there.
Thanks for joining us on Legendary Exits. We hope you enjoyed the conversation. If you did, give us a 5-star review on your favorite podcast platform, and be sure to subscribe to the show to stay connected with more stories of purpose-driven exits. You can find more information at legendaryexits.com. Until next time.